Om. Om. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Janakalyani Niratam Karunamaya Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Okay, all right. So, last time we met, we left off on verse 17. So we'll read that verse and then we'll continue on forward. Kurute Ganga Sagara Gamanam Prataparipalanam Atavadanam Jnana Vihina Sarvamatena Bhajatina Muktim Janmashatena Bhaja Govindam Bhaja Govindam Govindam Bhaja Muramete. So here in verse 17, it says that knowledge is the key to liberation. So how did we get here? So first, let's see the train of thought we started with. Verse number 15. Verse number 15, what did we see? Angam galitam palitam mundam. We saw that there is somebody who excessively indulged in life. So this person indulged to maximum, to whatever did whatever they wanted. And they just enjoyed life, just reaped so much pleasure out of it. What happened to this person? When they got older, angam galitam, their limbs were failing. Palitam mundam, their hair now has fallen off. Dashana vihinam jatam tundam, their teeth have fallen off also. Vriddho yati grihitva dandam. They're now walking with a stick. Tadapina munchati asha pindam. Still the desire has not left them. Desire has still not left them because their whole lives they were just indulging. And we saw that when we just keep indulging in life, desire just grows and grows and grows so much more. So what happened, this person is in a very sad state wherein they've reached that old age. They want to execute, the mind wants to execute, but the body cannot. So the mind is willing, but the body is just failing. It's failing. It cannot, it's so weak. So a person who has just spent their whole life in sense indulgence will reach to the state at their old age where so many desires will still be there and they won't be able to pursue them. And this is what makes them feel very sad. So this is one plight, excessive indulgence. Then we saw now somebody who's in excessive denial. Verse number 16, someone who's in excessive denial. Agre vahni prishte bhanu. In front there's a fire, at the back warming them is the sun. Ratrau chubuka samarpita jan. They're holding their knees to their chin. Karatala bhikshas tarutala vasa. Their bhiksha is this. This much is their bhiksha. What do you have for bhiksha? This. And they live underneath a tree. Tadapina munchati asha pasha. Still the rope of desire hasn't left them. So it's as though they've denied everything. Outwardly, physically, they're living like a tapasvi, a very, very clean life. I'm living on minimum. But inside, the desires are lurking. So this is what we call in the Bhagavad Gita, mithyachara. Outside, we seem to be so prompt and so desireless and everything. But inside, so much is happening. So this person also suffers. They also suffer. And we learned in this that we don't need to suppress what we have. Spiritual life is not about suppressing, but about sublimating. So spiritual life is not indulgence, but not also denial. It is unfoldment. It is a beautiful unfoldment. And this unfoldment happens when we attach to something higher. So all that we have to do as seekers, our primary dharma, attach to something higher. Satsang, chanting the name of God, inquiry, studying, questioning, attach to that, and the lower will slowly drop off. And this process of attaching to the higher and letting the lower fall off naturally, that is called unfoldment. Because that there's a beauty to that, there's a grace in that. It's not forced, and at the same time, it's not overindulgence. It's not forced. It's not overindulgence. It's very natural. It's a natural process, and this is the best way a seeker can grow. So now the seeker has grown. Now what to do? So the next stage is verse 17, where we say now the seeker purifies their mind. So Kurute Ganga Sagara Gamanam. They go on a pilgrimage. And we talked about this in depth. What is the significance of a pilgrimage? Why do people go on a pilgrimage? What it does. And Vrata also. And they take certain vows so that their willpower can strengthen. So they go on pilgrimages, they take certain vows, and Atava Danam, they also give to charity. And this is where we stopped. I had asked everybody to think of a vow. So I hope you have thought of a vow that you've taken. Shivaratri is Monday. So if we can take a vow for Shivaratri, maybe at least for 10 days, some kind of vow we can take, that would be very nice. It's a chance for us to become better and to grow. So, Danam. Now, verse 17, Danam. This is where we left off. Danam means charity. But in Sanatana Dharma, charity is not something that I can do. Charity is should do. Charity is part of our dharma. And the reason it's part of our dharma is because in Sanatana Dharma, we feel that we have received so much. And those of you who are in the Bhagavad Gita class, we talked about the Pancha Mahayajnas, right? How we have received so much from God, from our rishis, from people in the community, from nature, from our ancestors. Our whole entire lives, we've received so much. We've received so much from so many various people. I mean, you just think about during the pandemic, right? There were people who we didn't even know, but they risked their lives for us. Be it they were in the groceries, they were delivering food, they were the frontline workers, they were counseling people. They didn't even know who we are or what we do, but they were there helping us. And I shared such stories with you in the Gita class that there was even this couple, with the mother and father. They had an 8-year-old son, and both of them were doctors. What did they do? They dropped their son to the grandparents' house. And they said, we will have to go serve now. It might be a few months, but the son has to stay with the grandparents because we have to serve. Now, there are people making such sacrifices for us. We don't even know them. What to talk of our parents, the sacrifices that they've made for us, our ancestors, our rishis. When we look at all of this, we always feel we've received so much. We always feel blessed. So the way one lives in Sanatana Dharma is that let me live a life of gratitude and let me give whatever I can back to this wheel, because we all function in a wheel of life. We're all part of a wheel of life. Like in Lion King, they say the circle of life. We're all part of that wheel. And so we've received so much, so now is our time to give. We've received, now our time to give. And that's how the world moves. The world moves in a chakra. So what is this dana? What is this charity? See, there are different kinds of charity: sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. In this verse, it is speaking about sattvic charity. What is this sattvic charity? Datavyam iti yad dana. That charity which we give, which we know we should give. Charity can be anything. See, in our Dharma Shastra, it says that when you have something asadharana, asadharana means unique ability. When you and I have a unique ability, it is our dharma to give that to society. So sometimes we can think, what should I give to society? What can be my contribution to society? Whatever is unique that I have, that's my contribution. So for example, if I have a unique talent, say I have a unique talent, that is my charity to society. That can be my charity. Let's say I have time, I am in a kind of setting where I do have time. That can be my charity. Let's say I have wealth. That can be my charity. So whatever is our uniqueness, whether it's time, talent, ability, wealth, health, a special skill, whatever is our uniqueness, when we give that back to society with the attitude that, yes, it is now my turn to give, that is called charity. That's called sattvic charity. And the attitude with which we give is anupakarini, means without expecting anything in return. We don't expect any recognition, any appreciation, anything, because we understand that this is our way of contributing to the wheel of life. Remember, we're all part of this wheel of life. Everything is a wheel, everything is a circle. Imagine if in this body, I ate food and I kept it in my mouth. And that's all I did. I just kept it in my mouth. What would happen? All the other parts of my body would fail. They wouldn't be, there's no nutrition, no vitamins going to them because I just kept it in my mouth. So when we just keep everything to ourselves, it's like keeping everything in our mouth. That's what happened. So danam without any expectation. That is called charity. And to whom? It says to the right person in the right time, in the right place. So the person who's fit, the patra has to be fit at the right place and the right time. So if I'm giving winter clothes in the middle of summer, that is not charity. That's because I probably need to get rid of it, but without assessing whether that person needs it or not. That is not charity. Once Swami Vivekananda, he met Rockefeller, and and they had a conversation, and Swami Vivekananda ji encouraged him to give to charity because he was very wealthy. So Rockefeller finally yielded. He said, okay, fine. And on their next meeting, Rockefeller writes a check. He gives it to Swami Vivekananda. He says, here, I'm going to give charity. Are you happy now? You can thank me for it. And Swami Vivekananda looked at him and said, no, you can thank me. You can thank me because I'm giving you the opportunity to do something good. This will give us merit, what we call punya. It gives us peace. Because the purpose of charity is slowly to let go of this mindedness so that I can let go of that ego. Let go of possessions so I can let go of this possessor, this very ego who thinks that it is the end all and be all. The second kind of dhanam is what we call rajasic dhanam. This rajasic dhanam is when we give charity, but for the purpose of recognition or appreciation or with expecting something in return. So this is the kind of charity where we give and we're like, Did you write my name? Did you say my name? Did you appreciate me? Or how are you recognizing me? This kind of charity doesn't give us peace. There's so much disturbance in the mind because all one's thinking about is not what the other person needs, but what am I getting? I mean, are they going to give me back? Are they going to appreciate me? Are they going to recognize me? They didn't even say anything. This kind of thing is not punya, it's papa. Such a disturbance in the mind. So people who give with that intention, they'll only be disturbed. And they'll only be thinking, when is this person going to give me back? See, sattvic dana, when we give, we know it's in a circle, it's in a cycle. It'll come back to us somehow, somewhere, some way. It does not have to be or mean that that person will give back to me. I gave to you, you give to me. It's not like that. It will come some way, somehow it will come. But with this rajasic charity, I give you, now what are you going to give me? That's called rajasic dana, according to the Bhagavad Gita. So that's not what we're talking about here. And there's also tamasic dana or tamasic charity, when one does not even think about the place or the person or what's required or the time. They just give because they want to get rid of stuff. This is not charity. Hi. Us getting rid of stuff is us getting rid of stuff. Don't call it charity. It's only called charity if we really think about what the other person needs and requires. So that charity, without even considering what that person needs, and sometimes given with insult, feeling that, we are the giver and they're the recipient, that is called tamasic charity. That is not dana. There was once, a saint. His name was Rahim. Rahim. He was very, people would come, and he had wealth. He had wealth. People would come and ask him for things, and whenever he would give, he would look down and give. And people would ask, why are you looking down? Why don't you look to who you're giving to? And he said, I know who the real giver is. The real giver is God. It's not me, it's God. And therefore I look down because I know I'm not the giver. So it's very beautiful. Huh? And what do we say in Arati? Tera tujhko arpan. I'm giving you what is yours. We tell Bhagavan, I'm giving you what is yours. So really, in the spirit of charity, we understand that nothing is ours. Everything is from God only, going to God. That's called sattvic dana. So these methods provided in verse 17, going to a pilgrimage, just finding that space and time to commune with God, taking a vow and really standing by that vow, especially during our festivals, and charity, these are great ways to purify. But Adi Shankaracharya warns, jnana vihina, without knowledge, sarva matena, in all schools of thought, bhajatina muktim janmashatena, there will not be any liberation without knowledge. And why is that? Why is there no liberation without knowledge? Because, like what we saw in verse number 10, the problem is ignorance. The problem is I don't know who I am. I don't know that I am the infinite self. I don't know that I am pure consciousness, pure awareness. I think that I'm the limited body, mind, and intellect. Because the problem is ignorance, therefore the solution is knowledge. So, and what is this? What is the nature of this ignorance? The nature of this ignorance is, yes, I think I'm the body, mind, intellect. I think I'm the ego. I think I'm this limited personality. So I am, let's say, Shubhani. I am this individual. I am this person. That is called ignorance. When we do these acts of charity, pilgrimage, vows, what it does is it purifies that ego. It makes it very, very sattvic. And that's required for the spiritual path. It's an absolute must. It purifies the ego. But what happens is, even a sattvic ego can be dangerous because it can be proud. It can be proud that, hey, I'm such a good person. Look at what I'm doing. How come nobody else is doing this thing? Or I'm such a good seeker, or I'm such a wonderful citizen. That kind of pride can creep up. And so that is not the ultimate. The ultimate is also to remove that ego. Remove that ego. I am not a person, period. Whether good or bad, I am not a person, period. I am that infinite self. I am that infinite self. I am that awareness. That is called knowledge. That knowledge alone will give liberation. It's like this. This example I gave this morning, the Gayatri Japa. And this is Puja Gurudev's example. All of us have been through this. We've gone to some store or the other and bought a pair of shoes, but it's one size small. Everybody's been through this, right? Buy a pair of shoes, it's one size small. And to wear those shoes is very painful. One size small is very, very painful. And then if we have to walk in those shoes, we get like, wounds and scars in our feet because it's so painful. All we want to do is just take off those shoes. We can't believe we bought them. It's too small. What is this? What's happening? That infinite self we are this infinite self. It's as though we crushed it into this body, mind, and intellect. We crushed it into this. And we said, oh, you're not the infinite self. You're this body, you're this mind, you're this intellect, you're this person. How do you think we would feel? Right? So claustrophobic, right? Just like those shoes that are so tight. That is what we call the ego. That infinite self that we packed up and made it this body, mind, intellect person. That's the ego. And therefore, the goal is to release. Just know that this is not us. We are that self. And once that happens, that is mukti. That is liberation. So therefore, seek Govinda, seek Govinda. Govinda alone we should seek. By Govinda, mean that ultimate truth. So these methods are great to help us purify. But at the end of the day, we still have to come to the path of knowledge, to liberation. Now, we will move to the next verse. The next verse now, somebody might have a question. Now, how can I come to this path of knowledge? What is this qualification that one should have to come to the path of knowledge? So this qualification is called vairagya, dispassion, detachment, or independence. So verse 18, the tagline is, independence is joy. So I will read. Suramandira tarumula nivasaha.
Suramandira tarumula nivasa.
Shaya bhutalamajinam vasaha.
Shaya bhutalamajinam vasa.
Sarva parigraha bhogatyagaha.
Sarva parigraha bhogatyaga.
Tasya sukham na karoti viragaha.
Tasya sukham na karoti viraga.
Okay, now we'll all chant together. Suramandira tarumula nivasa Shaya bhutalamajinam vasa Sarva parigraha bhogatyaga Kasya sukham na karoti viraga. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. So it's very nice we're doing this verse today because Shivaratri is coming up and we're talking about Vairagya and the ultimate Vairagi, the one who possesses Vairagya, is Lord Shiva. Sura Mandira Taru Mula Nivasa, the one who dwells at the root of a tree in some temple. Shaya Bhutalam, and sleeping on the ground, the bare ground. Ajinam Vasa, and their cloth may be just a deer skin, a deer passed away deer skin. Sarva Parigraha Bhoga Tyaga, one who has renounced Bhoga, the thirst to enjoy Sarva Parigraha, all possessions. Kasya Sukham Nakaroti Viragaha, to whom will not dispassion or vairagya bring happiness. So sheltering in temples, under some trees, sleeping on the naked ground, wearing a deer skin, and thus renouncing all idea of possession and thirst to enjoy, to whom will not dispassion bring happiness? So how does one become happy in the world? This is our question, right? Who is the person who is qualified for knowledge, and how does one become happy in the world? So who is the person qualified for knowledge? The one who has dispassion. And how does one become happy in the world? Become dispassionate. So now what is that? We will see. The first line says, now one who is dwelling under the tree, lying in the ground to sleep. What does this mean? The first thing about dispassion is outer dispassion, means living simply and being able to adapt to any situation. So these two things, live simply and be able to adapt to any situation. This is called outer dispassion. What does living simply mean? See, we don't have to live like this in the tree and all of that. This is not practical for us, but live with whatever we need. Sometimes we get into this phase where we just want to accumulate. And what happens is more things take more time. More things take more time, because the more we have, the more time and the more attention, the more energy isn't it? This is our whole life only. Yoga Kshema. When we buy a house, it's not that just we buy a house. The maintenance comes with it. We buy a car. We bought a car. The maintenance, the parking, and all of it, right? So here it says, live simply with whatever's required. And there's no hard and fast rule. Everyone's family, everyone's space, there's a different requirement. But live simply so that a lot of attention can also go to seeking. Otherwise, if we live very extravagantly, what happens is all the attention goes outward, but not inward, because we're too busy taking care of everything. But if we live simply, then there is some time, there is some space to go inward. So live simply. The second one is to be adaptable. Sometimes we would like to carry our comfort wherever we go, isn't it? So wherever we travel, wherever we go, we like to carry this. Now, President's Day weekend's coming, so people will travel, but carry mounts and mounts of things, and food and clothes and this and that. Here it says, let go. What is the only thing that we should carry with us? Besides the whatever's required material things, just carry this attitude. Wherever I go, I will make it work. That's it. Just carry this much, this attitude. Yes, I'll take few clothes, whatever is required, but wherever I go, I'll make it work. This is the spirit of a Vairagi. Oh, because their needs also are minimum. Their needs are minimum. So when our needs are minimum, we are free. We are free because we don't need to depend on so many things. So keep our lives simple, keep ourselves adaptable, and that will bring us so much peace. Huh? The second line now is detachment within. What is this detachment within? How do we enjoy life? Just think about how we enjoy life. We enjoy life seeking pleasure. We still feel, that the world will give us happiness. We still have that notion. We've read many times, we've listened to many talks. Happiness is not outside, it's not in a person, it's not in an object. But still, we feel that. And so we spend our lives in pursuit of the world. When we go out into the world, we seek pleasure. And when we gain what we wanted, the mind becomes quiet. The mind becomes quiet. The desire is quenched. But right after that, pressure again. Pressure again rises. Again, I want something. So we have this search for pleasure. I want something, I want something, I want something. We get it. We're quiet for some time. And then again, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. Then again, we get it. We're quiet. We have some quiet window. Now we have a COVID window, right? Can breathe a little bit. Something happens again, mask, right? Desire is like that. The desire will come. You get it, and then again, another desire will come. And so we live this life in this constant pleasure and then pressure and pleasure and then pressure because we want something from the world. And what we want is some kind of joy. Can you please give me some kind of joy? Can you please give me some kind of peace? And we become beggars of happiness. We are literally beggars of happiness. This experience, please give me happiness. This person, please give me happiness. We are like beggars. What happens to this Vairagi, this dispassionate person? They have understood that the world is not the source of that. Whatever I'm looking for, I know for a fact I will not get it into the world or from the world. So what is their pursuit? Their pursuit now is within. They are turning within. So it's not that they don't interact in the world and they don't meet people, they don't go to places. They go to all of these things, but they're not desiring the world for joy. So their mind is very calm and very peaceful. There's no pressure of desire happening because they say, I don't want. What I want, the world cannot give me, will not give me, and therefore I'm seeking within. So happily they engage in the world, but they know that the real joy is coming from here. Because see, happiness from a worldly standpoint, what is happiness from a worldly standpoint? It's nothing but peace of mind. That's all it is. It's nothing but peace of mind. So when we do get our desires, the mind becomes quiet. That's why we feel happy. But we can make the mind quiet even without desiring, even without wanting, even without willing, even without hoping. The mind can be very quiet. And this is the mind of such a Vairagi that is just still and quiet. And so to this person who is free from the thirst to possess any object, person, place, or thing, that person is happy. So what is happiness in a worldly sense? It's that peace that arises from the freedom of thirst from any object, for any anything, for any person. That's called happiness. And that will bring immense peace, because this person doesn't need anything. Is it physically? They have minimal needs. Emotionally, also, their needs are very minimal. Because they've kept themselves to minimum needs, they revel. They revel. Now, a question can come: how does one get this sense of independence or dispassion from the world? The first thing we have to do is viveka. Viveka means examine the world. Examine the world. You know, when we are in satsang, when we study, we can examine together. Yes. And we have examined in Bhaja Govindam many things. We have examined that life is temporary. Everything comes and everything goes. We've examined that the minute we lose our abilities, people will also drop us. The world will drop us. So drop the world before the world drops you. We've examined also our relationships, that they're not absolute. So we have examined together in satsang, but what's important is for each seeker to examine on their own. So you yourself have to examine life and see, okay, what are the limitations of this life? What are the limitations of this world? What is it? Am I really getting what I want from it? Sit down and think about it. Just sit down. Adi Shankaracharya ji has written a very beautiful commentary in this Mundaka Upanishad, where he examines the world thoroughly. And he says, what am I looking for here? I see that everything is drashta nashta svabhava. Means it rises and it falls again. Things come and then they go again. Everything is just disappearing moment to moment by my own eyes. And he says it's as though I keep pursuing the world, but it's like kadali phala. It's like this banana leaf or banana tree. You keep pursuing it, but inside there's nothing there. So we keep pursuing. He said, asara, nisara. There is no sara. There is no essence. Keep pursuing. No essence. We keep looking for that everlasting contentment. We haven't found it yet. So when one does their own pariksha or their own examination themselves, then only this vairagya will become very ripe. Then only they'll become very ripe. So we have to think for our own selves. When we are very clear that yes, this world will not give me what I want, it is impermanent, then vairagya or dispassion will come. And that dispassion is nothing but dropping the dependence on the world. You don't have to drop the world, in the sense where we are parts of families and relationships and work, etc. But dropping the dependence on the world, dropping the dependence on the people, on dependence on the objects. When you drop that, you become free. Completely free. Because then your source of joy is within. And no more are we looking to people to pay us attention, to look at us, to think about us, to be with us. We are just completely free within. That is the joy of somebody who has vairagya. Independence. So can we be that seeker who is independent? That will bring a lot of joy. Kasya sukham nakaroti viragaha. Now, a person might ask, is there something higher than this? Right? So to gain knowledge, we need this quality of vairagya or dispassion. And to become happy in the world also, we need this quality of dispassion. Is there something higher than this? What happens when we have knowledge? What is the kind of joy we will experience when we have knowledge. So very beautifully now, we will see verse number 19, which will tell us what is the joy of an enlightened being. Okay, so let us chant. Yogarato va bhogarato va
Yogarato va bhogarato va
Sangarato va sangavihinaha
Sangarato va sangavihina
Yasya brahmani ramate chittam
Yasya brahmani ramate chintam
Nandati nandati nandatyeva
Nandati 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 va
Yogarato va bhogarato va Sangarato va sangavihina Yasya brahmani ramate chittam Nandati nandati nandatyeva Bhaja Govindam Bhaja Govindam Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. Now, what is this verse about? This verse is called Wow. This is the Wow verse of Bhaja Govindam. What is a Wow verse? The Wow verse is the wonder of the world. So when we think of wonders of the world, we think of places like the Colosseum or the Great Pyramids of Egypt, the Wall of China. We think of all of these things when we think of the wonder of the world, right? Because it took so much time, so much effort to build these structures. And so people are in awe of some of them. But really, what is the wonder of the world? What is the greatest wonder of the world? The wow. Greatest wonder is this person who can live with or without. So wow stands for with or without. This is truly wow for us. This is truly wow. Who is this person? Yogarato va. Rataha, the one who revels in yoga. Bhogarato va, the one who revels in bhoga or enjoyment. Sangarato va, the one who revels in company. Sangavihina, the one who revels in solitude. Yasya brahmani ramate chittam, for whose mind, for the one whom the mind revels in Brahman, nandati, nandati, nandati eva. They just enjoy, they just enjoy, they just enjoy. Let one revel in yoga, or let one revel in bhoga. Let one seek enjoyment in company, or revel in solitude away from the crowd. He whose mind revels in Brahman, he alone enjoys, he alone enjoys. So let me ask you a question. Where do you live? Where do you live? Not in Manhattan, not in New Jersey, not in Michigan. Where do you live? You live where your mind lives. You don't live where your body lives. Your body may be in New York City, in India. Your body may be in India. Your body may be in Michigan. But you and I live where our mind lives. If the mind lives in a beautiful place, wherever we will be in a beautiful place. For this person, their mind revels in Brahman. Their chittam, their mind is in Brahman. They live in God. They live in God. And therefore, they enjoy. They enjoy and they verily enjoy. Yoga rato. Even if they're, be it in yoga. Yoga means that they're doing some sadhana and they're sitting for contemplation. They're sitting for japa. Their eyes are closed. They're performing some austerity. In that, they are reveling in truth, in God. Bhogaratova. But let's say now they're out. Let's say they're out. They're out with family. They're out with people. They're out on a trip, traveling here and there. Are they away from God? No. They're still living in God. They're still living in God. Because this world is nothing but the expression of God. Sitting in yoga, I see God with my eyes closed. In bhoga or enjoyment, we see God with eyes open. So everything is just a reminder of God. That the nature, the lights, the sounds, the people, no matter what it is living in God. Sangarataha. And when one is with people, still living in God, still living in God. Because in every being, there is only God. So in every being, we see the goodness, we see the lessons, we see the beauty. Sangavihina. And in solitude, also living with God. Nobody comes to speak to them, nobody comes to talk to them, asks anything about them, still living in God. That is because their minds are connected to the higher. When our mind is connected with the higher, it doesn't matter where we are or what we're doing. Some of us, we have attachment to some certain places and spaces. Some of us, if you tell us to do sadhana or do austerity, we're like, oh, I can't do that. It's so hard. Then some people are afraid to get into enjoyments. I don't want to go out. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go anywhere. I like this COVID thing. I don't want to do anything, right? I'm scared to go out. Or sometimes some people don't like it when too many people are around. There's too many people. It's too loud. It's too crazy. Some people are so scared to be on their own. I'm alone. What am I going to do? How am I going to tackle this? And so we go through so many phases. That's because the mind is not connected to something higher. So now let's think how to practically apply this, right? So one is yoga. So one, of course, we feel God, definitely in the midst of silence. Definitely we feel God. People ask, is it possible to see God? Is it possible to talk to God? Is it possible to commune with God? Every day, there are love letters from God. Everything is a sign from God, only if we are open enough to see it. So yoga is a place, definitely, when we're quiet, when the mind is quiet, what happens is that the voice of God is able to come through. In our quiet contemplations, the voice of God is able to come through. So in that, definitely we will be connected to the higher. But you're going to say in outside, in enjoyments, in going here and going there, is there still a connection to God? Yes, there is a connection to God. When we just look at nature, just look at how vast it is. Think about the one who created it. Puja Guruji always says, we tell somebody, nice bracelet, nice watch, nice bangle. But did you ever think about who made the hand? Who made the hand in which we wear that? We might say, okay, nice show, nice picture, nice movement. But who made the eye with which we can see it? So even in the midst of all this enjoyment, yes, we can connect to God, but we can connect to higher by seeing where the creation is from. Trace the creation to the creator. Then we will really be in awe. My God, God can actually create something like this. It's just beautiful. Can't explain it, right? Then, how do we apply this? Sangarataha. Now with people. Sometimes it's very hard to be with people. Sometimes we have to be with people we don't want to be with. We have to be in a situation where we don't want to be. Just see through that person, God's trying to tell us something. Through that person, through that being, maybe Bhagavan's trying to tell us, this is what we need to learn. This is what we need to work on. This is what we need to do. And that's everyone in our family. Everyone in our family represents a value that we need to work on. That's why they're there. They're there to teach us that this is the value that we need to work on. We are lacking that value. That's why we have a partner with that value who's teaching us. That's why we have children with those values who are teaching us. That is what it is. So this is nothing but Bhagavan trying to teach us this lesson. And let's say if nobody's there and we're completely alone, that is a perfect chance. We are sometimes scared to be alone because what do we do with our minds? That is the exact time to just sit and have a conversation with God. So this is what this verse is saying. If we can be with or without, with something, people come, people go, okay. Where events come, events go, okay. Things happen, things don't happen, okay. If we can learn in life, just even this one lesson, with or without, I'm okay. That's only possible if we have something higher to hold on to. Then only it's possible. And when we are like that, that is freedom. That's freedom. That's the freedom of an enlightened being. People come, okay. People don't come, okay. Something's happening, okay. Something's not happening, okay. With or without. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate. Okay, so I'll just summarize what we've done today. And then if anyone has any questions or thoughts, then you can share. So what we saw today was that in verse number 17, that yes, one may use these methods to purify themselves, like going on a pilgrimage, taking a vow, and even charity. But at the end of the day, what we're looking for is not being a good person. What we're looking for is being free from the person. I am no longer the person. I am that infinite self. So all the things that make us a good person are good, but true spirituality is going beyond good also. Beyond good also. Because being good, one can develop some kind of pride. Then verse number 18 we saw, but then how do we do that? What is a qualification to come to spirituality? Vairagya, dispassion, independence. What is the nature of that? One is what we call outer vairagya, where we live simply and just adapt. Just adapt to wherever we go, just be adaptive. And inner vairagya, where we are no longer desiring or running after the world, but now we understand that the source is within. We might not have unlocked it yet, but we know that it's not out there, so let me start looking within. And therefore, they're free from all these pursuits of the world. Then when one gains knowledge, what is their joy? Their joy is W-O-W. Wow. With or without. Because they don't live where their bodies live. They live where their minds live. And their minds live in God. So therefore, they live in God. And those who live in God, verily they enjoy. They enjoy, and they definitely enjoy. Okay, we'll stop here. I'll just pause for a moment.